Let's pretend I'm hosting a remote guest in a Zoom call, and I want to record my microphone to one track and their microphone to another track. In this case, I'll set up my microphone track as I normally would. I have my microphone connected to input 1, so I'll make a track in the DAW with the input set to input 1. Next, I'll go into my Zoom settings and set my audio output in Zoom to be my audio interface. If you're using a basic interface, you just follow the same steps as before. Create another track in your DAW session with the Loopback inputs selected. That sends everything going to your speakers to be recorded inside the DAW. You'll recall, though, that the Loopback feature on my interface functions a bit differently. If I output Zoom to physical outputs 1 and 2, then select Loopback on those outputs, it will come into my DAW as inputs 1 and 2. But input 1 is already being used by my microphone. There's an easy fix using TotalMix, the software that routes signals within my interface. But in order for me to show you how I actually do it when I'm recording a podcast like this, I need to quickly show you how TotalMix works. The top line of faders are the physical inputs: mic, line, instrument, and ADAT inputs. The middle line of faders are the software playback channels. If I create a send in my DAW to output 5 and 6, it comes out of the corresponding channels in this middle row. The faders in the bottom line are the physical outputs. You can see the analog line outputs, the headphone outputs, and the digital ADAT outputs. To send audio from a physical input or a software playback channel to a physical output, I just select the physical output channel I want to send audio to and set the faders accordingly for what I want in that mix. When I select a different output, the input channel and software playback channel faders reflect the mix I've selected. By default, the interface will have each of these software playback channel pairs routed to the output pairs on the interface. So if I set up a send to analog output 5 and 6 in the DAW, it automatically goes through to physical outputs 5 and 6. The fact that TotalMix is set up like this might seem kind of confusing if you're not used to it, but once you start trying to do more complicated routing, you'll see why this setup is so helpful. If you're like me and you often need to do complicated routing for things like this, and you use a Mac, you might come across one of the main limitations of Mac compared to PC. On PC, your interface can run with an ASIO driver. And for my interface, that means in any app where I can select my interface as the audio output, I'll be given individual options for each pair of physical outputs. So in Zoom, for example, I could select output 3 and 4 directly within the settings if I were using PC. But on Mac, the interface has to run with core audio, which only shows one instance of the audio interface, which corresponds to outputs 1 and 2 by default. There might be a way to solve this using audio MIDI setup on Mac, but TotalMix makes it very easy to get around that without messing with the system settings. Getting back to our example, when I tell Zoom I want to play audio out of my interface, it only shows me one option, because I primarily use Mac for my work. And when I select the interface in Zoom, audio comes out through this 1 and 2 fader in the middle row, the software playback section. Rather than sending that to physical output 1 and 2, I'll send it to physical output 3 and 4 instead. Then I can flip the Loopback feature on without interfering with my physical input on channel 1. In the DAW, I just record the guest on a track set up with input 3 and 4, and record myself as I normally would on input 1. The workflow of TotalMix, paired with the extra output channels on the interface, also opens the door to other scenarios where I have multiple submixes for Loopback.